episode 49 redo of the Metal Roundtable. I am Metal Rob, and with me, as always, is the great
Carcass John
Foster. I like that it shows your name down there.
Oh, it does.
It does. You fixed it. That's awesome.
One of my Latin labor force asked me why I don't like to be called Diablo, and I don't know how that started at my job, but I said no. I prefer Carcass because I don't even know the other, and so now they're calling me Carcass at work, which is better than Diablo, by the way.
I like it, but Diablo is very metal.
You didn't know.
Well, I have a quick shout out, if you don't mind.
Fire away.
This came in the mail yesterday. Yeah. You recognize that artwork, sir?
I sort of do.
Yeah.
I sort of do.
Well, this is a copy. So Santa Oscuridad did a new EP called Dos, or as us gringos say, Two. And it showed up in my mailbox yesterday. 2 copies, one for me, one for you. So this is yours.
Awesome.
Yay.
Cool.
It sounds great. Larry did a great job recording this thing. He was.
How's the mastering on that, by the way?
It's good. I was not going to mention that. I was able to master this. I'm very stoked to have mastered this for those guys. It's a privilege and an honor, and I appreciate it very much. But yeah, this thing's out. They've had to push their release date back significantly because of
why? What's the big deal? World's normal, right?
Yeah, but reach out to those dudes on Facebook. Send them a positive message. Tell them thanks for doing this. It's coming soon. But I have mine now. Haha. Oh, and I want to shout out Kevin Kirk at the Heavy Metal Shop. He was one of our early episodes, and he, like everybody else, is impacted by this whole mess going on. And he will happily ship you a nice hoodie or a hat. I should have worn my hat too. Man, that dude's got everything, all kinds of shirts. I bought a bunch of stuff last time I was out there, but Kevin Kirk's doing his thing, shipping stuff out. So go visit the Heavy Metal Shop on Facebook and send old Kevin a message and get him to ship you out a t-shirt or a hoodie. How about that?
Well, and bands are figuring out a way, including, not that Kevin Kirk's a band, but he's a heavy metal, or he is a music business. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the Mothership broadcast live on Facebook last night, but I caught
the tail end of it. Yes,
it was nearly 2 hours of just killer Texas big time rock and roll, and they even did a cover of one of my favorite tunes when I was growing up, and Pat Travers, Snorting Whiskey, Drinking Cocaine. It was awesome. Old Pat and his band would have been proud, and anyway, it was a cool thing. I'm sure they got a few. They had a ton of people watching, worldwide. Man. So it was awesome. And shout out to the Mothership cats. Great dudes, local heroes here. Done a lot of great things in the music scene, and man, that was. I hope to see more events like that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
I hope I can go back and rewatch it because I didn't see the first part. So I caught the end of it, but I'm hoping that I can go out there and find it somewhere. But
I'm hoping somebody recorded it. I'm sure that they did. They hinted as to new Mothership music, including maybe some live stuff. So yeah,
you never know.
Hey, more Mothership is always better than no Mothership.
That's right. I'll take whatever I can get from those boys.
There you go.
Well, episode 49, how many is that, Carcass?
That is that many plus that many.
That many. That's a lot.
49.
That's a lot. 49. Episode 49, we're going to get into it this morning. We are going to talk about, we all know that the greatest singers in heavy metal and hard rock are, we all talk about Jeff Tate and Bruce Dickinson and Rob Halford. And we have no question that those are the greatest, and we all agree on that. And there are many more we could mention. But what we want to talk about today is it seems diminishing to say that these are not the greatest. I don't mean it like that. These are badass singers, but what we want to talk about is our favorite singers. So no disrespect to the guys that everybody knows about, and you're going to know most of these too, but these are our favorites. We're not trying to argue the best.
Right. And so if you guys out
But I
there are
think
looking
we are.
for, if you're looking for Luciano Pavarotti to be on the list, it's probably not going to happen because he might be the greatest singer ever, but
Yeah.
but we're talking about our favorite singers.
Yes, we are talking about our favorite singers. You want to lead us off?
Well, as part of my shout out, and Santa Oscuridad has a new album coming out, a new EP. Well, so do my buddies in RFE, Rabid Flesh Eaters. Anyway, they sent me a nice little care package with patches and CDs and T-shirts and all
I'm
sorts
looking
of fun
closer,
stuff.
like I'm going to be able to get close to see. What?
But anyway, as we talk about our favorite singers, you know, RFE has kind of it has very much an old rigor mortis vibe. In fact, when Mike Scotcha passed away, Mike Taylor, the kind of the leader and brain trust of RFE, Rabid Flesh Eaters, took over in a rigor mortis tribute band called Wizards of Gore when Bruce Corbett was still around, and it was Casey Orr, Hardin Harrison, Mike Taylor, and Bruce Corbett singing rigor mortis songs. Well, the beauty of this thing is that they're just releasing it now, but it actually has probably the last recorded track from Bruce Corbett. Now, people have asked me, you know, do I think Bruce was the greatest singer ever? No, I don't think he was the greatest singer ever, but man, there was something about his voice that made him fit the music, whether he was in rigor mortis or whether he was in War Beast. And the same for Ricky Wilson from Rabid Flesh Eaters. Great guy, greatest singer. Probably wouldn't see him on the top 10, but there's something about his voice that fits this music. So they actually do a duo, not a duet, by the way, because that sounds too romantic. And this is not a romantic record, by the way.
No, I would not.
But they do a duo in there, and then they do a trade-off, and it's interesting to hear them trading lead vocals. And it's really pretty cool. So that's how I'm going to start off. A tribute to Bruce Corbett, one of my favorite singers, and one of my new favorite singers, Ricky Wilson from Rabid Flesh Eaters. What say you?
That's awesome. Yeah, I love RFE, man. Got to see those dudes at it must have been at the Memorial, right?
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. The only time I've met Mike outside of that was when we did the episode with Bruce. Heck of a nice guy. But yeah, I agree. I can't wait to get my hands on that new album. I'm going to keep it local.
As a matter of fact, I just happen to have your copy still sealed right here. So we'll trade. Santa Oscuridad for Rabid Flesh Eaters. I think that's straight up an easy trade. Done deal.
I'll trade you this.
Done deal.
For that.
For that. Okay.
Well, I'm going to keep it local, and I'm going to talk about who I think is one of the greatest heavy metal singers, and I would put him in a class with the big boys. And I'm talking about the big boys.
Whoa.
That is George Call of Aska.
You mean the George Call
guy? That's right. Hey, where'd you get that, by the way?
I got it from you, and It's still sealed, by the way. Thanks for sending me those remastered tracks.
Yep.
And despite the hair, the guy can really sing. He can really sing. Go ahead.
He got his hair scene under control.
Yeah, he did.
He did. So I've known about Aska for years and years and years, but I met George in line at a show. We were waiting in the concession line one time, and I bought a copy of Absolute Power off of him on the spot. And that's the one that album might have the highest note I've ever heard in heavy metal. I'm talking higher than Jeff Tate, maybe higher than Michael Sweet. Holy cow. He just crushes it at the end of it.
And he can pull it off live.
He absolutely can. When you talk to George, he's got this kind of gruff, raspy voice. And then when he opens his mouth on stage, he just dominates. And I love George's voice. I love the character and tone of what he's got going on vocally. Big fan of George Call. All the Aska records are good. This is my favorite Fire Eater. George Call, one of the greatest of all time, period.
Well, and one of your, and to your point, my first stage interaction with him was on a show in Houston with Cage. And you all know Sean Peck from the Three Tremors, but he's also in a band called Cage. And holy smokes, you want to talk about the deadly duo vocalizing that night. It was impressive.
Yeah, that's awesome. What you got?
Well, I'm going to switch gears a little bit and not stay local. I'll go back to being local. But when I was growing up, nobody gave this guy any credit. Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad. There's something warm about him, and kind of like George, not only was he a good vocalist, or a great vocalist, I think, but he was a great guitar player. And he didn't get credit for either one. So highly recommend this record. If you're going to delve into the Grand Funk realm of things to see that I'm telling the truth, which I am, the Red Album would be a good place to start. And like I said, pay attention not only to his vocal patterns, but his guitar work. I think Mark Farner is awesome.
He's greatness. I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to talk about a singer that we both agree on. This is kind of a twofer on this. This is Black Sabbath's Eternal Idol album. And Black Sabbath has had a lot of great singers, but the cool thing about this is the finalized album features Tony Martin, who's an absolute smashing singer, fantastic singer. Headless Cross, gosh, he did so many great albums with Sabbath and was just an awesome singer, kind of helped keep the band going, during those years. But also, this thing features, on the demo side, this is the deluxe edition of the Eternal Idol, and the first CD contains the album proper with Tony Martin singing, and it's fantastic. But disc 2 includes all the Ray Gillen pre-production demos. And if you've never paid attention to Ray Gillen, you know Ray Gillen from Badlands, but Ray Gillen also sang in Black Sabbath, did not record an album with him, but the pre-production demos are lovingly mastered and fixed up, and it sounds amazing. So if you want to get a tale of two singers pretty much on the same album, check that out, because that's a dynamic duo of Ray Gillen and Tony Martin on that record. Ray Gillen,
well, and I think
he was fantastic.
He is fantastic, or he was fantastic, but there's even some live tracks on there live in San Antonio. And whether he's in the studio or whether he's live, he pulls it off. And I think I mentioned to you once before that of the 3 Badlands records, and yes, there are 3, Dusk being the third, that is where Ray Gillen really came into his own. And I love the first 2 Badlands. The band is tight, the vocals are killer, the musicianship is awesome, but Dusk is probably a top 5 rock record for me. And part of the reason being is of Ray Gillen's soaring, soulful, torchy vocals. I mean, it's fantastic. I couldn't recommend it enough.
I've never heard that one. I need to check that out.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Who you got, big boy?
Well,
I'm excited.
Bushwick Bill of that. No, I'm just kidding. Ghetto Boys. Just kidding. I don't know. We talk about musical powerhouses. Well, when I think of man, this is one of my favorite bands. If I had to go to an island, people ask me, we're seeing all these lists because of CV19 and all this, the mess in the world. Yeah. Let me tell you what, if I'm going to an island and I can only take 1 to 5 thrash records with me, I'm taking Gamma Side Victims of Science. And part of the reason is not just because of the blistering guitars of the Governor, Rick Perry, and the Beast himself, Scott Shellbeast, but it's the vocals by Varnum Ponville. And he's been compared to a lot of people like Sean Gillian from Violence. But I think he's more like Chuck Billy, big, intimidating guy, long jet black hair. And man, when he pointed at you while you were jackhammer fist pumping on the front row, man. You paid attention to that guy. He's big, huge, hulking mass, and what a great voice. And he's doing a new project called Cauldron, not to be confused with the Canadian version, which is really pretty wimpy compared to the Varnum version. But man, check out Varnum Pondville.
The name of the Canadian Cauldron.
Varnum Pondville from Gamma Side is a beast on vocals. Yeah, I love it.
The thing I like
and he's a heck of a nice guy.
When you think of classic thrash vocals, Varnum Pondville is a perfect example.
Yep.
Perfect.
I agree.
All right. I'm going way off the radar here for probably some of you. My favorite indie rock band of all time is a band called Stavesacre. Now, some of you may know Mark Solomon's vocals because he sang in old school
The Crucified
band called The Crucified. Yes, Pillars of Humanity. They had some good stuff back in the day. Well, I have been a fan of everything that Mark Solomon has ever done. He's got such a unique character to his voice. I just love it. And I don't really know how to describe it. It's got that, it's the Paul Stanley thing. He doesn't sound like Paul Stanley, but what I mean is nobody sounds like Mark Solomon, just like nobody sounds like Paul Stanley. So you could pick up any Stavesacre record. They've been independent. They've been on Nitro Records. They had a bunch of records on Tooth and Nail back in the day. Their magnum opus is probably Speakeasy, but this is their latest one called 1995, and he just wails on this, and I just love Mark Solomon to pieces.
He's a good lyricist too.
He's an amazing lyricist. Their album Absolutes has some of the coolest lyrics I've ever read on a record. So yeah, Mark Solomon, Stavesacre, one of my very favorite singers of all time.
Okay, well, since you went off the rails, I thought I went off the rails with the Ghetto Boys, haha, but I'm going to go off the rails. You ever seen this before?
I am familiar with the band, but I know nothing about it. I mean, I know they exist.
This is a fairly commercial rock record featuring members of Journey. This is what they did when Steve Perry left, and the band and Journey was in kind of a massive disarray. And this includes Greg Raleigh, keyboardist, and a pretty good vocalist himself. Mm-hmm. He was the first vocalist on the early Journey records. Right. Ross Valerie, the bass player, and Steve Smith. So basically, the foundation of the band plus one of a good songwriter and vocalist. But they have a guy named Kevin Chalfant singing on this record, and I don't know what it is about it, but it's like what we've talked about before. This is like the perfect fit for the music. Nobody sounds like this guy. And if you haven't seen this, this is a 50-cent half-price books find on cassette. And notice I'm doing the cassette theme because I'm trying to accommodate the new format here. But man, what a great listen. This was a shocker to me, and it was in such clean shape. I saw it and I thought, for 50 cents, how can I go wrong? I can always trade it in or give it to somebody, some guy that likes hair metal a little more than I do. But this is not quite hair metal. This is a good, serious rock record with soaring vocals, good range, and the playing on it is phenomenal. So
I need to check into that.
This? Yeah, if you see this, pick it up.
Storm. All right.
Are you back on the rails yet?
This is another one. Yeah, back on the rails for sure. So everybody remembers Lynch Mob from the first album, Wicked Sensational. Those dudes have continued to put out records. Now, this one is several years old, but this is Smoke and Mirrors by Lynch Mob. And man, if you can liken different guys' voices to flavors, I just love the flavor that this guy rolls out. Man, I have liked everything that Oni has done. I've not heard him sing with the Dio Disciples, but I love every Lynch Mob record. And as much as George Lynch is a badass guitar player, and that's cool, I love that about these records. What keeps me coming back to Lynch Mob records is Oni Logan's voice. I've seen this band live probably as many times as I've seen any band live, and I just absolutely love the character of Oni Logan's voice. For whatever reason, it just speaks to me, and his voice does it for me. I love it. He's a good songwriter, good lyricist, but man, I love hearing that dude sing.
Well, now that you bring up those two, George Lynch and Oni Logan, you should try. There's a release on Shrapnel called Furious George, and he basically covers Robin Trower, Grand Funk, some old 70s classic rock hits, and it's fantastic. Okay. And part of the reason
I've heard of it
is Oni Logan is amazing.
Yeah,
George Lynch is a fantastic guitar player, but Oni Logan is. I would vote him just slightly a notch above. But anyway, okay, off the rails, and going back to the locals. I have to do it. What am I going to do?
You're going to talk about our house band.
I'm going to talk about the house band Forebode.
I didn't get a cassette, by the way.
Yeah, well, I have the cassette, the actual good cassette, and I have one that was a defective cassette. So you know me, I'm a weird guy like that. But anyway, look, we talk about these guys all the time, and this is next to gurgling and gargling, growling, angry, sludgy, doomy, whatever. But the greatness about this band is that there's only 4 guys: Fast Eddie on guitar, Zach on drums, Gigi on bass, and TJ Lewis, who is a BAMFSOB. He is awesome. And the thing is he's told me in confidence that he's got a little stage fright, little anxiety, and you would never ever know it, because This guy, as soon as he grabs that lime green painted chain microphone stand and hits that first note, he is all in. He is fully invested, and you are about ready to lose your like the Swedes say, no head found. When you listen to Forebode, your head will be rolling down I-35 at some point.
So
reattachment in the future.
Here's the truth about Forebode for me. You talked him up, and we wanted to have him on the show many episodes ago when we did an episode from Casa de Carcass. And I did give it a cursory glance because I wanted to know a little bit about what I was talking about when the guys showed up. And I was so behind, and I listened to it, and I got interrupted by phone calls on the way to your place that day. And so I came in pretty blind. I'm not going to lie to you. And when those dudes came in, you know, they're just nice, intelligent, soft-spoken guys. And TJ was fairly quiet, you know, but just easygoing, really down-to-earth dudes. And so I got back in the truck when I left, and I put the CD on at full attention. And it was like, holy cow, that's that same guy. And yeah, he just blew me away, and I've been a huge fan ever since. So yeah, we talk about them all the time, but we really do love those guys.
No, and we talk about them because they're great. I mean, we don't talk about them just because they're our buddies.
Yep.
But if you're into the heavier side of the sludgier, doomier side of things, and these guys have some riffs. I mean, someone compared them in one of the Austin papers to if Black Sabbath played sludgy doom, which don't they kind of play that? But anyway,
kind of what they do.
It's louder and heavier and sludgier than that. But anyway, really dig them. What you got?
Well, this is not off the rails, but I don't know where people put this guy on the Mount Rushmore of hard rock and heavy metal singers, but I've always been a big Don Dokken guy. And this is his solo album from 90, and he did another one after that called Solitary a few years back, and it's more laid back music. But I just love, again, for no other reason, George Lynch was in the band. John Norum plays on this, and that's cool. I love it, and I'm glad they do. This is melodic hard rock at its best, but to me, there's a reason that the name Dokken was the name of the band, is because of Don Dokken, and I absolutely love the guy's voice. He's one of my top 3 rock and roll people that I'd ever like to meet. I just absolutely can't get enough of Don Dokken's voice. I think
they were, you know, those first few albums were spectacular. They had a pretty good run there. I think they got some injustice by being lumped into the hair metal genre, because they were a straight up heavy metal band, and to your point, his vocals were part of the reason. Of course, the ripping leads by George Lynch, that had something to do about it. But if you didn't have to see the fluffy hair and tiger striped spandex, you would think that they were a Saxon-like band or someone likened to it, because they would have fit that genre.
They were a jeans and t-shirt band, and they did get lumped in. But yeah, their greatness, and even though I know Don is as he's gotten older, he's lost a few steps on his range, but even some of the later albums, I enjoy the smoky, deeper tones of his voice too. So I've just enjoyed his whole career.
Well, I'm going to try something really unconventional, because this sounds like we're in familiar territory here, but I'm going to talk about 3 older guys that
yes,
that have so taken care of their voices into their twilight of their into their 50s. You and I had a chance to see Exhorder and Overkill recently, and Overkill's been on the road 37 years. Exhorder's been on the road for 30 years, and Kyle Thomas of Exhorder and Bobby Blitz, love him or hate him, he is the voice of that band, and he doesn't sound any different now. Unlike some people that when they talk to you, they sound different. Like George, when he talks to you, he's got the gruff whatever, and then when he sings, you're like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? When Blitz talks to you, it sounds like the way he sings, and it's funny like that, especially with that New Jersey twang of his. But Kyle Thomas, heavier voice, heavier vocal pattern, but somehow he's learned to take care of it. And to that point, I know James from Hellstar, and he can still sing these songs. And this was from 84, 86, something like that. This was from yesteryear. And yet he still is able, he's trained himself, not unlike Halford or Dickinson, to as they age, they're still able to make those songs that we knew as kids still sound great.
Yep, I agree. James is an amazing singer, and I feel so very fortunate to have gotten to know those guys over the past few years. And when they played at Hell's Heroes last year, you and I were there.
Yeah.
It was separating the men from the boys. I mean, it was respect coming from the crowd, because Hellstar was on stage and James Rivera was about to hold court, and he's done it I don't care if we've seen him in a club with 40 people or at a festival with hundreds or thousands. That dude is there to dominate, and he means business, and he is such a nice guy. But man, those vocals will never die.
Well, and shame on the DFW fans that didn't come out to the Rail Club that one night, where Aska and Hellstar were on the same bill.
Oh my gosh!
And you want to talk about 2 great old battle axes swinging away up there, James Rivera and George Call. It was pretty awesome.
Yep.
And see, to me, that's the test of a truly great vocalist, is can they pull it off live? Yes, we know about the studio tricks, we know about all that, but can they pull it off live? And wow, James can still pull it off live.
Well, speaking of pulling it off live, as we mentioned at the first of the show, we're not trying to talk about the greatest singers of all time. We're talking about our favorites, but some of them do happen to be some of the greatest singers of all time. And this guy replaced Jeff Tate in Queensryche. Jeff Tate is an amazing singer, always has been. Amazing. The range on that guy is just operatic. He's ridiculous. But if you're going to replace Jeff Tate in Queensryche, you're going to do that with the only guy on the planet that can step in and do it, in my opinion, and that is Todd Latorre. Todd Latorre came in and filled those massive, massive shoes of Jeff Tate's. He revived the band, and it woke up all their early material live. So you want to talk about somebody not only pulling it off on the record, but pulling it off live. I've seen them several times with Todd, and he is an absolute powerhouse. So I need 2 things from you, Queensryche and Todd Latorre. I would like a re-recorded greatest hits. That would be awesome. and I would like a live album with Todd Latorre on vocals. I've said it. One of the
Okay,
best
I
singers
can't
on
really
the
argue
planet,
with you.
Todd Latorre.
I can't really argue with you. And much like the Steve Perry replacement in Journey, I think, you know, this is a case where the new guy is actually, I don't want to say better, but at least serviceably good enough to pull it off and to make those.
It's, yeah, man, that's a tough one.
Look, let me put it to you this way: if you can't have Jeff Tate, Todd Latorre, yeah,
give me Todd.
So,
and the thing is, I know. Well, we're gonna get into all the BS of the band politics and all that, but just Todd just brings positivity and professionalism and that amazing voice. And so I love those classic Queensryche records, but even Jeff Tate gave him the seal of approval when he saw him sing. So
there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is it you or me?
Me, I guess, because you had Queensryche, Todd Latorre.
Yep. Do it.
Okay. All right. You remember your introduction?
I keep getting closer. I do.
Okay. Metal Rob and I went to see somebody else, but I said, Napalm Death is on the bill, and you will not go get a beer, and you will not go shopping for merch. You will not go to the bathroom. You will sit and watch Napalm Death. Is Barney Greenway the greatest vocalist ever? No.
Are you covering up your microphone?
Huh?
Are you covering up your microphone?
I don't know. Am I?
You suddenly went uber thin.
Uber thin. How about now?
Huh. That's weird. No, you're good. Go ahead. Yes, Barney Greenway rules.
Yes, he does. And not so much the fact that he can, you know what? For the music, it fits. And for whatever reason, part of his charm is his inner song banter.
Yes.
Between and yes, I call them songs. You know, my parents may not call them songs, but I'll call them songs. I'll be bold. But there's something charming enough about this guy that not only is his stage presence part of his vocal greatness, but the fact that he's a nice guy and he's a humanitarian, it doesn't hurt either. And their songs are very poignant, and despite their political angle. How about that?
Right, I agree. I'm going to move through these last few pretty quick. I'm not sure why we're losing the sound there a little bit, but you came back in. You're better now, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a powerhouse vocalist like you, Faith Bomb.
Oh, shut up. Don't put that out there. Lizzie Borden, this is another one strictly for me, the character of his voice. I absolutely love the way he sounds. I've been fortunate enough to finally see them in the last few years. Saw them at the Rail Club with Aska opening. And then I recently saw them in front of Demons and Wizards at Gas Monkey Live. And I just love it. I love the showmanship and the character of his voice. This is my favorite album by Lizzie Borden, Master of Disguise. And I dig it. He's got that unique, he's got the Paul Stanley thing. Nobody sounds like this. And I love everything that he's sung on.
Well, honestly, I just because of our discussion about Lizzie Borden, I dug into their catalog a little bit the other day, last night actually, because I want to know what the intrigue is. And I think you're right. He does have something unique. And I may not love him like you do, but I have a little healthy respect for him because he's still doing what he loves.
Yep.
And he does have a very unique sound.
Yep.
Not unlike Blitz and some of those other guys.
Yes. It's you.
It's me? Oh.
It's your turn.
Okay. All right. Toxic Holocaust.
Ah, yes.
This is a bootleg tape. Even Joel doesn't have this. I'm trying to figure out how to get him one. But when we talk about metal and this new wave of new thrash metal, I think the Toxic Holocaust, the Havocs, the Warbringers, Merciless Death, those are sort of on the tip of that spear. And this guy's voice screams speed metal, thrash metal, blackened thrash, whatever you want to call it. And
Yes.
not only is he a great person, but he writes killer songs. He writes great riffs. His leads are second to none, despite the fact that now he's playing bass in order to help his vocals get better, by the way. I guess that was the reason for the change. But when I think of thrash metal, modern thrash metal, this is my go-to guy right here. Joel Grind, Toxic Holocaust. I think he's second to none. Plus, like I said, he's a heck of a nice guy.
Yep. Now I've got one that you'll recognize right off the bat. Going back local, I have been watching this dude sing since the early 90s. This is Shawn Vargas of Blood of the Sun.
Oh, hey, that's very familiar territory there.
Yeah, we've got some buddies that play in this band, do we not?
Yes, we do.
Blood of the Sun, this is Blood's Thicker Than Love. This came out last year, year before.
Yeah, last year.
A couple years ago. Anyway, this record, man, the thing I like about this is Shawn Vargas sings on it, but it's just cool, heavy rock and roll. It's Uriah Heep. It's very keyboard driven. And Shawn just delivers the goods. I saw him back in the day in a Queensryche, Crimson Glory style band, and he could hit all the high notes and do all of that. But this is straight ahead rock and roll, and Shawn Vargas delivers the goods as well as anybody on the planet for that style of music. But as far as DFW singers go, man, he's just a badass. I love the guy, and he's funny. He's super funny.
No, he is very funny. In fact, my introduction to him, I was a little late to the show later to the show than that band you were referencing. But I knew him from FTW, For the Wizard, a 4-piece, kind of like a forebodish type band, more sludge and doom oriented, but still he could pull it off. In fact, they played just a few feet away from me in my living room. Yeah. When I first moved into my house, it was like a housewarming party, and they completely destroyed. In fact, they brought a fog machine. That fog was so thick in there, and I still have pictures of Shawn Vargas waist deep in fog, belting it out, and that long raven black hair of his hanging down. And they set the fire detectors off, or the smoke detectors off, because there was so much fog in the house.
Well, the natural talent that he's got as a singer and a front man is just unmatched. I mean, he was born to sing rock and roll, and once again, that character in his voice. Nobody sounds like Shawn. He's a great singer.
Yep, I love that guy. He's awesome. What do you got left? I got a couple things.
I got 2 more.
Okay, let's do 2 more. Oh, is that me? Oh, that is me.
Buddy. You're doing great.
Okay, well, I'm going to start off smooth, smoky, and bluesy, and then I'm going to end up heavy and fast.
Okay.
James Dewar, who also played bass for Robin Trower, is you want to talk about smooth and smoky vocals. This was a powerhouse record for me. It's a top 5er of all time classic rock and roll, and I knew that I thought that the Armageddon was upon us and the apocalypse was happening when I went into a Walmart one day and heard Day of the Eagle playing over the PA system, and it re-sparked my interest in how great the record is. But as great as Robin Trower is, James Dewar's vocals are fantastic. And if you're going to get into a 70s blues rock power trio, this would be a good place to start. And yes, I know we could go Geddy Lee with the power trio, but this stuff right here is almost the perfect record. This is almost like the Boston self-titled record. Robin Trower, Day of the Eagle, James Dewar playing bass and singing, and let's not bypass Bill Lorden's greatness on drums either.
Yeah, my connection with that record is a friend of mine, Scott Killian, is the afternoon guy up at Mad Rock in Sherman, which is an absolute, if you want to go back to, I mean, it's just a notch away from Z-Rock. You know, they have got so much stuff, and Scott will go off the map and play stuff like that. And so I heard Day of the Eagle. Is that what it's called? Did I get it right?
Yep, Day of the Eagle.
Day of the Eagle play one day. And I messaged him, and I'm like, what in the world is this? And I had no idea. I'd never heard that song before. So That's how Scott Killian turned me on to that Robin Trower record. And I went and looked in my record inventory, and there it was. And so it got an immediate spin. So thanks to Scott at Mad Rock for turning me on to Robin Trower's Bridge of
Can't go
Sighs.
wrong. Top 5.
All right, I'm going to knock these last 2 out pretty quick. Jeff Scott Soto sang on a couple of Yngwie records. Yngwie's had some great singers in his band, Joe Lynn Turner and others. But Jeff Scott Soto, to me, when you talk about traditional heavy metal, Jeff Scott Soto is absolutely just a world-class traditional heavy metal voice. I love what he did in Talisman. I also love what he did on his Soto solo projects. But, man, for my money, I did not get to see Yngwie with him. I saw him with Joe Lynn Turner, who was also great. But Jeff Scott Soto, he's just got that unique character to his voice. Love him. Fantastic singer. Got the highs, got the lows, and everything in between. Go investigate everything that Jeff Scott Soto has sung on.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of Ian Gillan in him, I think, and that's probably where that uniqueness is. It's powerful, but it's still melodic, and he can hit those high notes without breaking apart on re-entry.
Yes.
Okay, here's my last one.
Okay.
And I know that this is unfamiliar to most people. Oath of Cruelty. Now, for the same reason that Barney is unique to Napalm Death, right? Which is lots of gurgling, Houston band, and he's been in a ton of different other projects. Morbosi Dodd, he played guitar. He's in PLF, which is a grindcore madness from the 90s. He also plays bass now in the Sawblade project with the guys from Heavy Roach Activity called Cemeterian. But this guy not only can write riffs and play leads, but his vocals fit that grinding, speed-laden metal. And once again, killer musician, but a better person. And I love Dave Reliak, Dave of Death. He's one of my favorites, and I can listen to this thing on a loop. And they do a cover of Slayer's Necrophobic that will knock your socks off.
Nice. Well, I'm going to go the exact opposite of that to finish up my list.
Shocking.
Shocking, right? Yeah, we're like the yin and the yang or whatever.
Something like that.
I'm going to finish up with Jack Russell, if I don't die. Oh,
please
gosh.
Don't. Please don't.
Jack Russell of Great White has got the silkiest, smoothest blues rock voice out there. I just love the guy. When he was going through some bad times a few years ago, I saw them at the Glass Cactus, and he sat on a stool and sang, and he crushed it. He absolutely dominated. I love everything about his voice. Back in the day, they did the 80s high-pitched stuff when they did their first couple albums, and they kind of settled into the more bluesy, a little darker rock and roll. And
kind of a Robert Plant style.
Yeah, absolutely. But for my money, Jack Russell is a fantastic bluesy rock and roll singer. The character of that dude's voice is unmatched. Pow.
So that's just a few of our favorites.
Those are a few.
Are they the best? Are they the best? Maybe in our minds, but are they great? Of course they are.
All great singers. I thought of so many throughout the episode that I missed that I should have talked about. Well,
let's let people put their favorite down in the comments.
Yeah.
Maybe we have part 2 of our favorite singers.
Yeah, maybe one of these days we'll do that. But we've got episode 50 coming up, dude. Episode 50. Can you believe that?
That's crazy. I can't believe it.
So what we're going to do for episode 50 is we are going to go back and we are going to recap just the last couple years of we'll go over how you and I met and kind of how the show evolved and the people we've met along the way, and we'll just kind of talk about the show for next time.
Okay.
And I'm glad I figured this out. I'm sorry about episode 48. The audio is really screwed up. I didn't realize it until it was too late. So if you want to skip 48, that's fine. We'll still be your friend. And we fixed this one. I put it out yesterday, but we fixed it and did it again because it was a mess, and it's all me. So I apologize for that. But here's what we do want you to do. We want you to go to the Facebook page. We want you to like and share and follow the Metal Roundtable on Facebook. We also want you to go to the YouTube channel, which I could dial up here. Now, should I go crazy, go off the rails, and share my screen and show them what the YouTube channel looks like, or just trust them to get there? Let's do this little experiment.
Okay, this is an experiment.
Share screen, desktop, share. Oh, look at that.
Well,
so I'm going to show you
state.
YouTube, the Metal Roundtable. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, that's it. Go there and subscribe to the channel. You see this? 52 meager subscribers since we changed over the channel. We had a couple hundred before that. So anyway, that's on me. I changed everything, and we need to get that subscribership up. So hit that subscribe button. Get notified for all the episodes that we have coming up.
Am I still on?
You are still on. I don't know how to get out of this.
Oh.
Well, I'm learning on the fly here. Stop.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, there we go.
Live and in color. Oh, there you are.
Hey, we're back. There we are. Yay! My lovely bride taught me how to do that. Now I fumbled it there. I didn't do it. I didn't do a very good job, but she taught me.
You fumbled it, but you recovered your own fumble, so that's right. That's technically good.
Yeah, and without her, this doesn't happen because she's the one that taught me how to do this. So,
well, give her all the heavy metal credit you can.
I will. All right, man. Until next time for episode 50, I'm Metal Rob. This is Carcass John. And as always, metal
will prevail.
It will. It will prevail. We'll see you next time. We love you so much. Goodbye. Episode 50 coming up soon. Bye now.